Hello, welcome to Bible Guru. Thank you for joining us in our journey through the Bible. Revelation chapter 6, beginning of verse 1. I saw as the Lamb opened the seven seals, and I heard one of the living ones saying with a huge voice, "Come and see." And I saw a white horse, and the one riding upon it had a bow, and he was given strength. And he went, having victory and to be victorious. And then he opened the second seal. And I heard the second living one saying, "Come." And another red horse went out, and the one sitting on him was given to take peace from the earth, and in order that they would kill one another. And he was given a huge sword. Then he opened the third seal, and I heard the third living one say, "Come and see." And I saw a black horse, and the one sitting on him had scales in his right hand. And I heard a voice in the middle of the four living ones saying, "A measure of wheat for a day's wages, and 3 measures of barley for a day's wages. And the oil and the wine you should not damage." And then he opened the fourth seal. And I heard the voice of the fourth living one saying, "Come and see." And I saw a green horse, and on top of the one riding him, his name was written, Death. And Hades followed him afterwards. And he was given authority over the fourth of the earth, and to kill with sword and famine and death, and even by the beasts of the earth. Now, there are 4 main interpretations of the 4 horsemen. Please recognize they cannot possibly all be correct. If you want my opinion, I lean toward the first and the fourth. There are 4 main opinions concerning what the four horsemen are. Number 1 is that they represent economic, political, and social disarray during the tribulation. The second understanding of the 4 horsemen is that the first horseman is Jesus. Having the first horseman be Jesus and the last one be death doesn't make any sense to me. They're all, they're all obviously connected, at least not. Anyway, so that's the second way that some people look at it. The third one, the first horseman is the Antichrist. So yes, the first way of understanding it is that the first one is Jesus, and then the third way of understanding it is that the first one is the Antichrist. Obviously not Jesus, and the others are the destruction which attends his reign. The fourth perspective is that these 4 horses are mighty angels which are behind the forces unleashed under the reign of the Antichrist. A study of the horsemen shows that they are constantly mentioned as members of the armies that are of the nations warring against the people of God. If you're interested in following up some of the details, please check out the description below, and you can dig into some of those possibilities on your own. What is being described here is the beginning of the end of human history. People debate about humanity's future. Some feel we will wipe ourselves out within the next few centuries. This is quite possible. Others argue if we can become a multi-planet species, we'll be okay. I think, however, that whatever planet we manage to settle on, even if the current goals are accomplished of establishing a Mars colony with 1 million people on it by the end of the century, will only take our fallen humanity with us. If we are destroyed by our own behavior, the destruction will come from within, not from outside. But the Bible teaches our species will come to an end on this planet because God will bring judgment on us. The 4 horsemen of the apocalypse are the beginning of that judgment. The destruction caused by these horsemen is poetic, using war, commerce, famine, disease, and even beasts of the earth. Let's take a look quickly at each one. First, war. Toward the end of World War II, the US developed a doomsday weapon and used it against Japan. Strategists at the time felt it may prevent the war deaths of roughly 1 million soldiers, because despite the fact that Japan was pressed in by the Russians in Manchuria and Korea, and by the Americans everywhere else, they seemed to be uninterested in any form of armistice. The weapons developed and used to ensure the swift end of the war then became a stockpile of the means of the MAD doctrine. That's MAD, mutually assured destruction. The presumption at the time was that no rational person or government would use a weapon knowing that its use would surely result in their own total annihilation. Interestingly, during the Cuban Missile Crisis, John Kennedy commissioned a small group to perform a war game in which they simulated the current situation of brinkmanship between the Soviets and the US. The purpose of the exercise was to evaluate whether Stalin would use nuclear weapons if one of their cities were destroyed by nuclear weapons. The conclusion of the game? Not only would Stalin use a bomb in answer to a bomb, they would feel inclined, even obligated, to use all-out nuclear attack, knowing that a tit-for-tat destruction of one city would require an answer against another and another and another. That all-out war was the most rational response to any nuclear attack. Both Kennedy and Stalin, gratefully, had cool enough heads to avert nuclear disaster. But we may not have the same strength of heart and mind in positions of power today. God will use war, the very means used to subdue those who are less powerful, to subdue those who wish to dominate. 2. Commerce. Commerce, too, has been used for centuries to whip weaker nations into compliance. In the past few generations, it's become an even more effective weapon. Since the formation of the League of Nations, those in powerful and dominant groups have levied sanctions against those who lose. Many have argued that the economic sanctions against Germany after World War I provided the rich soil in which the corrupt fruit of the Nazis grew, leading inevitably to World War II. That God would use commerce as a weapon against the wealthy and powerful nations of the world is a kind of historical rhyme. In the 1990s, nations joined against North Korea to bring sanctions against them. Unfortunately for the Korean citizens, their nation experienced a famine during that time. Estimates are anywhere from 2 to 3 million people died of starvation as a result. And that brings us to the next power given to the 4 horsemen: famine. Currently, at least 4 nations in Africa are suffering famine. Kenya, Nigeria, Somalia, Sudan face together the potential starvation of over 30 million people. If you include the current situation also in Afghanistan, where estimates are somewhere between 4 and 5 million people are displaced, and about 15 million people are in danger of malnutrition, almost half of the population. In each case, the famines are the direct result of government corruption and political ineptitude, not because of natural disaster alone. Worldwide production of food is now at a level that we can provide more than 2,700 calories a day to every man, woman, and child on the earth. I eat considerably more than average, and 2,700 calories is enough for me to maintain my weight. It's enough for everyone. The uneven distribution of food is not because the world is unable to make resources for the population, but because human beings are unwilling to make changes that are required for the betterment of all humanity. Famine and destitution lead, of course, to disease. In the past 100 or so years, we've made significant advances in medicine. Antibiotics are among the miracles of the modern age. Ironically, the treatments that have saved millions of people from tragic illnesses have created the environment in which bacteria and viruses have mutated to become superbugs. Drugs resistant to disease now account for about 5% of all disease for which people are hospitalized. We have already breached the tipping point. Without rapid and immediate innovation and treatment, we face a very real possibility of an outbreak capable of decimating the entire human population. The current pandemic is just a reminder that this is the reality. By the way, I wrote this text before the pandemic, just for your information. Finally, beasts. Here again, our record as a species is not exactly stellar. Most scientists who study such things believe that we are at the beginning of the 6th great extinction. The speed of species loss is greater than at any time observable in the fossil record, and we, most likely, are the reason. God's use of beasts to kill people is, again, completely appropriate, as we have been the cause of the deaths and now extinctions of hundreds of thousands of species. If you think I'm exaggerating, please look up the facts. Just do a Google search. We live in interesting times. It seems that if we don't live in the time of the 4 horsemen, that time will surely be soon. God bless you. Thanks for joining us in our journey through the Bible.